All right, let's dive in. Today, we're going to tackle something pretty important to all of us, I think, supporting a child's mental health.
Mm-hmm.
We got this article here, really insightful, focuses on the family's role.
Right.
And we're going to try to pull out the most useful, actionable stuff from it.
Yeah.
So think of this like your cheat sheet
Okay.
to really making a difference in a child's life.
Yeah.
Could be your kid, could be a family member, a student.
It's a topic that we don't talk about enough.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And this article really dives right into it.
It does.
The reality of children's mental health in the UK.
Yeah, and I was struck by just how many kids, face these challenges these days.
Right.
And how important it is to get ahead of it. Early
intervention.
Early intervention, yeah.
Is key.
But where do you even begin? We're talking anxiety, depression, ADHD, autism.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I think is so valuable about this article, is it highlights how deeply connected the family dynamic is with a child's well-being.
Okay.
It's not just, genes or things outside the home. The home environment itself plays a massive role.
So it's more than just, eat your vegetables and do your homework.
Exactly. Think of it this way. When you have stable, loving relationships in the family, those are like building blocks for a kid's emotional resilience.
Right.
They give a sense of security, belonging, self-worth, all essential for navigating life.
Totally.
It's tough out there.
It is tough, yeah.
For kids.
So how do we even know as parents, as caregivers, when something's really wrong? I mean, the article mentions, these warning signs.
Yeah.
But kids have mood swings all the time.
Right.
How do we separate that normal stuff from something that needs attention?
That's a great point, because while the article does list, common things, mood swings, outbursts, withdrawing socially,
right,
it's the subtle, persistent changes that we need to be tuned into. So, for example, if a child who loves to draw suddenly just avoids it completely, and this goes on for weeks, that's different.
Gotcha.
Or a child who's usually outgoing becomes withdrawn, isolated.
Right.
It's not just one instance, it's a pattern.
It's a pattern.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we just kind of brush those things off as, oh, it's a phase or whatever. But paying attention to those patterns, that could be key.
Exactly.
So once we recognize those signs, how do we actually create that supportive environment that the article talks about? Is it about being super strict with routines?
Structure and routine are important. Yeah, kids thrive on that predictability.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be like moot camp.
Right.
Think of it as like a framework that reduces their anxiety and helps them feel safe.
Okay.
So dinner at roughly the same time, consistent bedtime routine, even just having, our regular family game night, those things can make a big difference. So structure, but not like rigidity.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So what about the emotional side of things? How do you create that sense of emotional safety?
Okay. Imagine you're a child who has had just a terrible day at school.
Right.
You come home feeling frustrated, maybe embarrassed even.
Yeah.
Do you want to walk into a home where your feelings are kind of dismissed?
No.
Or do you want a space where you can just openly express those emotions without judgment?
We all want that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when we're struggling.
But how do we as adults create that for the children in our lives?
Yeah. Isn't it natural to just want to jump in and solve the problem or tell them to, toughen up?
It's a natural instinct.
Yeah.
But that's where active listening comes in.
Okay.
Instead of, offering solutions right away or minimizing their feelings, we need to first validate what they're going through.
Something as simple as saying, it sounds like you had a really tough day. I'm here to listen when you're ready to talk. Right. That can make them feel seen and understood. Right. It opens the door for real connection.
So it's not about fixing their problems. It's about just being present with them in their struggles.
It's about creating that space where they feel safe to be vulnerable,
powerful,
to express their fears and frustrations without judgment.
Powerful concept.
Yeah.
But let's be real, sometimes listening just isn't enough.
Right.
So how do we know when it's time to get professional help? That's going to be a tough call for parents to make.
It absolutely is. And this article, while it doesn't replace professional medical advice, it does offer some good guidance.
Okay.
Think of it this way. If your child broke their arm, you wouldn't think twice about taking them to the hospital.
Right.
Mental health is no different. If you're seeing these persistent changes in their mood, their behavior, or they're having significant difficulties in their daily life, it's a sign that professional help might be beneficial.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But the world of therapy,
right.
it can be so daunting.
It can be.
I mean, what if you don't even know where to turn?
Right.
And then there's that whole stigma thing that still exists.
Yeah, those are two really critical points that we're going to address.
Okay.
Right after this short break.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be back with more insights on how to navigate the path to professional help.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll tackle that elephant in the room, stigma.
Right.
We're back. And before the break, we were talking about, those big questions. When is it time to actually seek professional help?
Right.
And how do we even navigate that whole world, which can be pretty confusing.
It can be overwhelming, right? I mean, the system itself is not always easy, even for adults. So where do we even start when it's our kids?
Yeah. And the article mentions all these different types of professionals, you know, counselors, psychologists, therapists.
It's a whole new language.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
It can be.
So, I mean, where do you even begin?
Well, and it's okay to feel lost,
Right.
The key takeaway here is that it's a process, not a race.
Okay.
So you can start by talking to your GP.
Right.
They can be a really good first point of contact.
Oh, that's a good point.
They can, assess the situation, maybe make referrals to specialists.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that they can help with that kind of stuff too, not just physical health.
Exactly.
What if your kid's resistant to the idea of therapy though?
Right.
How do you even approach that conversation?
You have to approach it with sensitivity and honesty, right? Yeah. Avoid using labels or making them feel like there's something wrong with them.
Okay.
Instead, focus on the benefits. Like explain that a therapist is kind of like a coach.
Oh, I love that.
For our minds and emotions. They can help us develop coping skills and strategies to deal with life's challenges.
It makes it sound a lot more approachable.
Yeah.
I think.
Than, going to see a shrink.
Right, exactly.
Right.
But then there's also, just the practical stuff.
Right.
Finding a therapist that's a good fit.
Absolutely.
Waiting lists. Costs.
Yeah. It can be a lot.
That's a lot to handle.
It is. And that's where this article really emphasizes being an advocate for your child.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to ask questions, do your research on different approaches, inquire about waiting times, discuss payment options. There's often sliding scales or assistance programs available.
So you got to be informed, be proactive.
Exactly.
And not be afraid to push a little bit for what your kid needs.
Right.
But it's not all on the professionals, is it?
No.
The article also talks about this wider support network.
Right. It's about creating a web of support around your child.
Okay, so what does that look like in real life?
Yeah, it could include teachers, school counselors, family members, even trusted friends.
It takes a village, as they say.
Exactly.
But I think we often hesitate to reach out to other people, right?
Right.
Like we don't want to burden them or admit that we're struggling.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we have to challenge those beliefs.
Okay.
Remember, asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness.
Yeah, that's true.
And you'd be surprised how often people are willing to lend a hand, even if it's just listening or a few encouraging words.
Sometimes just knowing you're not alone.
Exactly.
In it is
huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the big elephant in the room here.
Yeah.
Stigma.
Surrounding mental health.
How do we tackle that?
Well, the article is very clear on this. Silence only perpetuates stigma.
Okay.
So open and honest conversations are the antidote.
Okay.
We have to talk about mental health with the same, matter-of-factness as we talk about physical health.
Okay.
Normalize it.
So lead by example. But that's hard, right?
It can be.
Especially when we're struggling with our own stuff.
And that's why the article dedicates a whole section to self-care for parents and caregivers.
Oh, that's important.
It's essential.
Yeah.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Right. I've heard that.
If we're depleted, we can't effectively support the children in our lives.
So what does self-care actually look like, though?
Right.
I mean, is it all spa days and...
It doesn't have to be, elaborate or expensive.
Okay.
It's about those small, intentional acts of kindness towards ourselves.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, it could be as simple as taking 5 minutes to just sit in silence and have a cup of tea.
Okay.
Going for a walk in nature, reading a chapter of a book.
Those are all things we can do.
Exactly.
In our busy days.
Yeah.
But how do we move beyond that and actually make it a priority?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the most powerful things you can do is actually schedule self-care into your day.
Oh, really?
Just like you would any other appointment.
Put it in the calendar.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a huge block of time. Yeah. Even 15, 20 minutes can make a difference.
I think a lot of us just wait for that free time to magically appear.
Right, but it rarely does.
It never does.
Be proactive, block out time for a walk, a yoga class, even just some quiet time to read. And don't be afraid to say no to things that drain you.
It's about giving ourselves permission.
Absolutely.
To recharge.
Yes.
But then that little voice in your head is like, you're being selfish.
And that's where self-compassion comes in.
Okay.
You know, talk to yourself the way you would talk to a friend who's struggling.
Yeah.
Be kind, be understanding, remind yourself that you deserve care too.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
This brings us back to kind of the heart of this whole deep dive, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about recognizing those signs of mental health challenges in kids.
Right.
Creating a supportive environment.
Right.
You know, seeking that professional help when you need it.
Absolutely.
Building that network of support. Tackling stigma.
Yeah. It's a journey.
It is.
Not a destination.
But the key takeaway here
is that families play such a vital role in a child's mental health journey.
We're their anchors.
We're their anchors, their safe harbor.
Their biggest cheerleaders.
Yes, exactly.
And even when we mess up or we feel overwhelmed or we don't know what to do.
It happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
The most important thing is to just keep showing up. Keep showing up.
Keep showing up.
Keep listening. Keep learning. And keep loving.
Unconditionally.
Yes.
Love unconditionally. Beautifully said.
It's about creating that space.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Where they feel safe to be vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
To express themselves.
Yes.
And to know that they're loved no matter what.
No matter what.
So to wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with this. What small act of love and support can you offer a child in your life today? Could be a hug, a listening ear, a shared laugh, just acknowledging their feelings.
Every little act of kindness, no matter how small, can make a difference.
It's true.
And remember, you are not alone on this journey.
Right.
There are resources, communities of support, professionals who can help.
Yeah.
Keep reaching out, keep learning. Keep believing in the power of love and connection.
Beautifully said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
Yeah.
We were talking about self-care for parents and caregivers.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to forget about yourself when you're busy taking care of everyone else.
It really is. And I think this article makes a really good point when it says that self-care isn't a luxury.
Right.
It's a necessity.
Yeah.
If we want to be the best parents or caregivers that we can be, we have to take care of ourselves too.
Right. I get it. Self-care is important. But how do we actually make time for it?
Right.
Like in the real world.
Yeah.
With work and family and everything else going on. Do you have any practical tips?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the best things you can do is actually schedule it.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Schedule self-care into your day, just like you would any other important appointment.
Oh, wow.
It doesn't have to be a huge chunk of time.
Okay.
Even 15, 20 minutes can make a difference.
So actually put it in the calendar?
Exactly.
Okay.
I think a lot of us wait for that free time to just magically appear.
Oh, yeah. It never does.
But it rarely does.
Yeah.
So be proactive. Block out the time for a walk, a yoga class, even just some quiet time to read, and don't be afraid to say no to things that drain your energy, you know? It's okay to set those boundaries.
It's like giving yourself permission to recharge.
Yeah.
But then that little voice creeps in and says, oh, you're being selfish.
Right. And that's where we need to practice self-compassion.
Okay.
Talk to yourself like you would talk to a good friend who is struggling.
Yeah.
Be kind. Be understanding, and remind yourself that you deserve care too.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think this brings us back to the heart of this whole deep dive.
We've talked about so much. Recognizing the signs of mental health challenges in kids. Creating that supportive home environment.
Right.
Seeking professional help. Building that support network. Even tackling stigma.
It's a lot. It's a journey.
It is a lot.
Not a destination.
Right.
But the key takeaway is that families really do play a vital role in this.
Yeah.
In a child's mental health journey.
We're their anchors.
We're their anchors, their safe harbor, their biggest cheerleaders.
And even when we make mistakes or we feel lost or overwhelmed.
It happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
The important thing is just to keep showing up for them.
Keep showing up. Keep listening.
Keep listening.
Keep learning and love unconditionally.
Yeah.
That's beautifully said.
I think it's about creating that space, right?
Yes.
Where they feel safe to be themselves, to be vulnerable.
To express them.
To express themselves and to know that they're loved no matter what.
No matter what. That's so important.
So to wrap up this whole deep dive, I want to leave everyone listening with this. What's one small act of love and support that you can offer a child in your life today? You know, maybe it's a hug, a listening ear, a shared laugh, even just acknowledging how they're feeling.
Every little act of kindness, no matter how small, can truly make a difference.
I love that. And remember,
you're not alone in this.
You're not alone.
There are so many resources out there, communities of support, and professionals who can help.
Keep reaching out, keep learning.
And keep believing in the power of love and connection.
Well said. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time. Take care.